Trash your cash, trash your cash. Trash your cash, trash your cash. Is the idea trash or is cash? Let us know. Yes, maybe so, or for sure, it's a no. Should we stop while we ahead and turn around or it's a go? Trash or is cash? Go on ahead, submit your vote. Hey yo, check dig, you're now tuned in to Trash or Cash Podcast, the show where the host will present a new idea and debate whether it's trash or cash. But the final decision is solely up to you, the audience.
All right, so this is, I don't even know what episode. I think this is lucky number 7, right? So lucky number 7. So Visionary Vega in the house. We're going to get this thing started. Guys, welcome to the Trash or Cash Podcast. It's a show for entrepreneurs, by entrepreneurs. And the idea is simple. A couple of guys like us or girls or everything in between. I mean, you know, I'm not going to start throwing pronouns out there, but some people get together that do some business and they pitch each other cool ideas and just to see what the other one thinks, see if they have the potential to become like a real business or not. You know, ideas are one thing though. Everybody, like they say opinions, everybody's got one, and the other thing too.
Right.
So, but the reality is quite another thing. You know, ideas without action are just nothing. They're vapor, right? So we're going to share our wild ideas with each other. We're going to, you know, talk it out a little bit, pitch each other basically like, Shark Tank? Nah, something like that though. And then, you know, we're going to talk if we have these paddles here. And if an idea is a good idea, they get the cash sign. And if it's a bad idea, they get the trash sign. And we have to explain why. It's just our point of view, and it's all friendly at the end. Nobody's getting revenge. Nobody's fighting in the street after this. It's all love, right? So thank you.
I got hands, man. Be careful. Be careful.
Hey, we both from that side, so we could do that. So, but you know, you never know which one of these ideas is actually going to become a unicorn. And I say that because my company, Trashmeter, actually was born from this exact thing on another series of podcasts where I ended up meeting my founder. So I'm saying that only to let you know, like, I do this because this might be the beginning of something way bigger. So I look at every one of these conversations like it's a seed that could grow into something big because I've already seen it done. So
of course,
it's exciting for me, and I appreciate you letting me share this. So guys, this is Jose Visionary Vega. Here's the thing. Everybody calls him Vega. So like,
fair enough. Like nobody knows the first name.
Like Prince, like Madonna, you got to get used to this one name thing, but he got it like that. I mean, you know, so here's what you should know about my man Vega. We met about a month ago at the Innovation Summit, right?
Innovation Summit, yes.
Did you present?
No, I was one of the sponsors that gave away the branding.
Got it. Branding. So this guy right here does what I love, which is branding. And if you're not convinced by now that I'm into branding with all what you got going on here, then you ain't been watching us very long. So keep up. But branding master here, not to flex, but if you want, flex. Tell them, you know, what you do, how long you've been in the biz, and like what you really bring to the table. And it's a very interesting story, but I'm gonna let you share a little bit about yourself with them.
Yeah. So Visionary Vega, I'm the owner here of 11 Branding here in downtown Tampa. We've been in the space for about 10 years now. It's crazy to say that, right? So time moves fast. We recently just hit a mile marker representing over $50 million in brands. We work with many Fortune 500 companies, some of the biggest influencers and athletes you may know, you know, not to throw any names of them in there, but we've worked with a lot of people that you see, you know, you love in the brands and help them establish it. You know, a big thing that we tell everybody, and it's funny that you even mentioned it, that, you know, your business started from an idea. You know, it's those stories that make a difference, because that's exactly what branding is. Branding is your story. Marketing is how you tell that story. And too many times I feel like, you know, the modern day entrepreneur, we look at it, we're trying to make entrepreneurship sexy. So we're like, we just got to market. I got to get on Instagram. I got to get on Facebook, and I just got to post all this stuff. And you're worrying about selling your product and marketing, but if marketing is how you tell a story, how are you going to tell a story you don't yet have? And that's what we focus on over the last 10 years, is helping people to establish that foundation, that ground level, those pillars for your brand, and represent really what that story is, who you are, what you do, and who you do it for, but really at a fundamental level. Because then once we have that understanding, then we can take those pillars, we can take everything that brand represents and put that over into everything else that you do, from the content to the visuals, the graphics, and everything else. And it becomes a lot easier because you're not trying to force your message. You're telling a story, and that audience finds you.
Yeah. So brands is kind of like the way you get to introduce yourself to people who don't know you, which raises one question. And it was brought up the other day, and I thought it was interesting. It's like, okay, so for you, what's one either misconception or like contrary opinion that you have about branding? Something you see that everybody's like, nah, it's like this. And you're like, hell no, it isn't. And I know because I'm living out exactly what I'm telling you, but conventional, other brand gurus, if you want to call it that, say like, oh, you got to do this and you got to do that. Like it's about the colors. It's about this. I mean, and I get that, but the emotional response to colors and things like that. But like, what's one thing that kind of like, it irks you when you hear it? Cause you're like, no, it's not that. Like you got one of those kind of, what was that?
Yeah, I mean, there's many different things, right? Nowadays it's easy to pick up a phone and put a few TikToks out and be the guru, right? So there's a lot of people that have different opinions, and there's no shots against anyone. But one thing that I see commonly is that everyone starts typically when they're trying to budget, they don't understand that marketing or branding is an investment, right? They see it as an expense. So they're like, I want to cut back. I don't want to put all this money into this. So I'm just going to do basic. And they think that branding is the visual identity, the logos, the color palettes. Like, and I'm saying, I have a brand, and I'm like, okay, let me see your brand. And they've got just, blue all over the Instagram and maybe a logo. And they're like, that's my brand. And I feel like that's one of the biggest mistakes you can possibly do, because starting with your visual identity first, that's like you're building a package without even knowing what the product that's going to go in it is. How do you know the package is the right size? How do you know it has the right information? Like your visual identity should be one of the last things you focus on. And everybody typically starts with that first. And I feel like that's one of the biggest mistakes you can possibly do.
So almost like, somebody going shopping and they want to have brand names and they go to TJ Maxx and throw a bunch of things together and that's my brand. Like I got hip things on, but it's all mismatched and not really communicating anything because, you just took a bunch of things and put it together and thought that was cool.
Well, the goal is not to wear brands, it's to become one, right? So I feel like another part that ties into it as well is just kind of like what you just said, where people are going and getting what they think is going to make their brand elevated. Oh, if I wear this, if I wear that, if I have on an expensive watch or I'm in a nice car, and they're wasting their budgets on image and trying to market it as opposed to like laying that foundational level. And they're trying to build a brand for what they think is cool as opposed to what their audience actually needs. So really lay down that foundational level first.
I am guilty and I have trouble with that as well. So did I leave anything important out about you? Feel like you gave your...
I mean, yeah, for the most part, pretty good.
So I usually ask people like 3 questions, right, to get to get to know them, because I kind of know you, but like on a deeper level, so that anybody watching this that may seems like you don't have a problem with people hiring you, but like they want to get to know a little bit more about you. Like for example, I met your daughter, which was cool, right? So I know you have a daughter, but people always kind of, because of brand, they want to know more about the person behind it. So this is my version of like, let's get to know a little deeper about you and what you stand for and that kind of stuff. So where you're headed in life, I guess, basically. Yeah. So you ready for these 3? They're not too hard. So, okay. All right. So what are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of being a father. Not being a dad, but being a father, because there's a difference between the two. Being a father is someone there that's laying that foundation and teaching, your child the ethics and the morals, and just even showing her business, right? Showing her that, yes, I want you to do good in school, but there's other ways, so I'm always pushing her, teaching her lessons. It's funny that you mentioned you met my daughter, right? Because I take her everywhere with me. If I'm on stage, she's coming. If I'm at an event, she's there with me. So that's one of the most things that I'm proud of, being a young father that's leading by example and not just out here, have a kid for no reason. Yeah,
I was just pointing because you see my son, he's over there, right? Yeah. He ain't doing what he's supposed to be doing, but I bring trying to put it in him, right? So I definitely resonate with that. I got 6 of them, so it's always a struggle trying to find the thing that they like.
Right.
And my handle, my personal handle is the Dad Next Door. So my brand is the Dad Next Door, is for all dads, but it's like the fatherhood part of it.
Right.
That's what I stand for, family and fun. So like that, I'm deep with that. Like, so I definitely appreciate that about you. What are you most excited about in your life right now? Like where you're at maybe today, or just what's going on right now that's like really exciting for you?
Today, going on what's really exciting, I would probably say, is reaching a pivotal point in my life, like career-wise and just overall, just like wisdom, maturity-wise. This Sunday, I'm a week into being 30, right? So I told myself that moving into cheers to it, right? There we go.
Birthday, homie.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So I told myself, not that you need a new year or a new birthday to pass by to make changes in your life, but I wanted to go into this new season of my life in the 30s learning you know, from all the lessons, all of the mistakes, all the wins, all the losses that I took in 20s and kind of change. So it's a real pivotal point. And with that being said, I made the choice to, you know, with my business even, where I'm going from more of the behind the scenes, where I've worked with, you know, all these great names, but I've always been behind the scenes, to kind of more front face, working more on my personal brand, you know, working on a course. I've got my book coming out. So there's a lot of exciting things now with the pivotal point that I'm taking in my business that I'm looking forward to. So
you were a kingmaker and now you're looking to become a king.
I wouldn't necessarily say, yeah, I mean, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't say I'm looking to become a king. I'm looking to take more of a leadership role and guidance, right? A lot of the success that I was doing was behind the scenes and that was great. I haven't had to go look for clients, which has been a blessing, but there's a lot of opportunity left on the table. There's other people that I could have been helping, right? Having them not go through the same mistakes that I have, but I was holding all that in. So now going to the front face and being able to drop the book, drop the course, all this stuff, obviously it's a way to monetize, right? It's a great revenue stream, but also it's the impact that I'm focusing on.
So that's why get you so you can have more impact in the way you like. And I get that because similarly, I there's a reason why I do all this, and I have my North Star, my purpose, my calling, and then all of this leads to that. I just picked a really weird way to go about it, but I'm happy with it because at the end of the day, you also got to be happy with what you put out.
Of course.
Make yourself happy first, I guess, and then everybody else, because at the end of the day, if you don't like yourself or what you're doing, you're not going to stick with that anyway. So like that should be your primary focus in this kind of stuff. I feel like
sometimes you have to be selflessly selfish, right? Sometimes you got to put yourself first in order to make sure that you're right. You're at 100% in order to be able to pour in more to other people. Because if you're at 50, you know, how much can you actually pour into someone else? So
true.
Put yourself
Time-wise,
first.
energy-wise, all that. What's your vision for the future?
It's funny, you know, the visionary, you know, like you would think that I'm thinking so far into the future. And I did that a lot in my younger years, right? And I think for me right now at this point, yes, I have goals for the future, but I'm focused more on the right now, right? Like we focus so much on where we want to be. And it's like thinking that everything has to be these huge steps. If I want multi-millions, I need to be taking multi-million steps. But right now I'm just focused on the little steps, right? The little things that I can do right now to make the needle moving activities that are going to get me to that next level, because all of those little steps in the right direction is what's going to get me to the bigger ones. So right now for the future, I'm really just focusing on really the impact that I'm going to have this year with all of the projects that I mentioned. And then what leads from there, and I'm kind of going to let my faith and my, you know, just in myself, my faith religion wise, really guide me to what those next steps of what the future is. So I'm not sure. You're
gonna drop a sermon one of these days, aren't you?
We'll see. You know, that's a new journey that I'm taking too.
Why not? I mean, look, 5 minutes, you start with 5 minutes and you work your way up and, you know, call it not a TED Talk. What would that be? J Talk? I don't know. God Talk? Nah. Anyway, we got a place to practice it, right? I mean,
right.
You did get a little taste of the stage that day, right? So you did very impressive. I mean, that's why I reached out to you. So
appreciate it.
This next part, it's a part that hurt. Nah, it doesn't hurt. We're going to get into this trash or cash thing.
Let's get it.
So we'll try not to hurt each other's feelings. I think we got some good ideas. I dropped everything and just came up with one. And I think you just came up with one on the spot. So this is going to be real interesting because there's like literally no research. This is all intuition.
No, it's all off the top.
This is off the top of your head. And that's cool too. I mean, look, we're freestyling, right? So let me see. I want you to go first.
You want me to go first?
Yeah. I want you to go first. Well, I don't know. You tell me. All right. I would do heads or tails, but you want to go first or you want me to go first?
If you need me to go first, I'm ready. We can go off the top.
All right, you're gonna go first, and what I'm gonna do is you're gonna present your idea, pitch it. Okay. I know you told me I had two, but you narrowed it down. I'm gonna just write some notes if I feel like it, and then we're gonna figure out if it's trash or cash and why, and then I'm going to hopefully you won't get revenge on me when I bring mine one.
Of course not.
So go ahead, man. Hit me with what you got.
Okay. So I mean, to start mine off, I kind of want to start with a question for you.
Okay.
So as an entrepreneur, right, being in business over all this time and the different ventures that you have gone through, what do you feel is the biggest asset to your business?
Biggest asset to my business?
What is your business's biggest asset?
Me, usually, which is hard to say because a lot of people would say, well, a real business, if you're going to sell it, needs to work without you. Yeah. But it wouldn't have been born without me. So I say me in that like a child, like you raise it to a certain point and then it can go out there and do what it's supposed to do or not. Right. But it started with you. It's your creation, so to speak. So I would say me.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said you. A lot of people would not. They'd say all these different things, but you was the answer I was looking for. Now, my second question before I pitch you as well is, what do you feel is the biggest mistake that people fall into when they jump into entrepreneurship or starting a business?
Not being clear about the outcome that they really want to produce, because I hear it all the time. I want to, and it's deeper to me, because it's like they say something that they think other people want to hear. That's altruistic. I'm doing it for my family. I want to create 100 millionaires, or something that's kind of like, it still seems self-serving. And is that what you really want to do?
Right.
Or is it something else?
Okay.
Instead of telling the truth, or having something that's bigger than them. That's what I mean. It has to be so much bigger than you that when everything sucks, that still pulls you forward out of the suck.
Right. So the person's why, really understanding their why,
exactly.
their why, and their understanding, their perspective on the business.
To me, why is the most important thing, because otherwise you're going to stop if it's not a good enough why.
Of course.
Yeah.
So out of those two questions, you would say that those are two pretty important questions on the success overall, the goal that you have for creating a business, right?
Yeah, personal responsibility and purpose.
Okay.
You need both.
Yeah, so you just said right now, and I'm sure most entrepreneurs, whether they say it or not, feel exactly the same way. When you think about a business, or when you think about entrepreneurship, aside from all the other things, yes, capital, yes, skill set, the right team, right, systems, strategic processes, CRMs, business funding, like the list goes on and on and on. And of everything you need, a business plan, a marketing plan, brand strategy, you need all those things. But the most valuable asset that you have as an entrepreneur is yourself. And out of the two things the two questions I asked you, both of them, you brought it back to yourself, right? You as the main asset, and then your mindset as one of the main things that people fail, right? And I feel like as entrepreneurs, sometimes the biggest reason that we fail is because we're too busy trying to make entrepreneurship look sexy than making it work, right? Entrepreneurship is not sexy, it's rewarding. It's not easy, right? It's not meant to be easy, it's rewarding. So for my idea and what the business represents, right? Entrepreneurship, if you ask people that are going through the struggle and have seen success, as opposed to telling you Lambos or jets or anything else, what entrepreneurship looks like for most is depression, right? High functioning depression, stress, anxiety, self-doubt, right? Stressing about financials because you don't understand financials. Because sometimes, especially if you're a creative entrepreneur, we're so busy running around with our ideas, we never stop to think, hey, well, maybe the way that my idea is going to work, and for me not to stress about money, is if I learn financials a little bit more, right? Or maybe if I'm not being stubborn, because as entrepreneurs, we watch all these videos online that tell us that our mindset needs to be great and that we just need to speak affirmations to ourselves. And you're saying, hey, I'm working so much, but why am I still not clear, right? Why do I still feel, kind of lost? Why am I going through this? Not understanding what things like high functioning depression are. These are all problems that most entrepreneurs go through, but they still end up quitting. And a business that could have been a multi 7-figure, 8-figure, 9-figure business ends up dying with that entrepreneur because they were so close, but they didn't understand really what entrepreneurship was because they were too busy looking at the sexy version of what entrepreneurship is marketed to be on social. So imagine if there was an app, right? Or some type of service where obviously you're going through a lot of things. So we wouldn't sell the app. The app is going to be a free app, but it's resources for entrepreneurs that are truly laying a foundation for what it is to lay out and map out the process of your success. Teaching them core skills like, not just saying, hey, you need to meditate, or hey, you need to do this or do that, but actually showing them resources directly to psychologists or like people that can help them, specifically geared around entrepreneurship, the struggles that we're going with. Classes that I can get for free with CPAs that can show me how to manage my finances better, right? How to market and add subliminal messaging, or how to add my business on, add my brand on social media, promoting my business without having to fall into the, what's the word I'm looking for? The fake it till you make it, the poser type style, right? All of these resources that can teach you all in an app on your phone, being transparent of really the struggles of what it is to make you become a successful entrepreneur. And then we would make the money would be through things like advertising, through maybe, you can get someone to do therapy with you for entrepreneurship. They can promote on there, or CPAs and accountants can pay for advertising on there, because once you understand the importance of it, you're going to need these things. So it makes sense for them to go ahead and promote on an app that's going to be directly to entrepreneurs that are actively working and need those things.
Okay. Couple questions.
Yeah.
I wrote down, some quick things. So it's almost like a lifestyle app for, what do you call this thing, first of all, in your head?
I don't know. We're gonna come up with a name by the end of the podcast.
Right,
we're gonna come up with a name. We just came up with this all right now, literally as soon as the camera.
I know. Okay. Think about it. Maybe write something down.
Right. I'll write a name in just a second,
because I think that's naming is important. I mean,
the name is important. It has to be catchy,
not too obscure. Or kind of 1 to 3, 1 or 2 words, and that's it. How much of this is when you say you really brought up the high function and depression, right? And that's real.
Yeah.
There's a loneliness. It's really a psychological sort of app, because mindset being the biggest thing. Right. I'm surrounded by entrepreneurs, and I'm also, we all deal with what we deal with, high divorce rate, right? Like that right there is probably, if I were to like, all right, so I'm going to call this cash right now so I can explain why. If you double down on like
relationship counseling there,
because there's the 1 degree, like it's you, but then you're in if you driving a vehicle, like your wife and your kids are in the car. So you're single-minded, but they're getting dragged along with the ride with you. Of course. And it's like, it's not even just you feeling lonely. It's then the responsibility to these people around you. Of course. How do you navigate that? And we're literally, me and Alan were talking about that yesterday, like literally surrounded by people that are building, trying really hard, and they're losing the closest people to them while they're doing it, because this single-mindedness is also to other people selfishness. So like, how do you, if there's a way this thing can like go into that depression mode and then psychologically like evaluate, like, they have they have all these like different things that, IQ tests and I forget some of the names of the other tests, but like kind of embedded in there, and then taking that and going like holistically saying, okay, here's what you're like. Maybe these colors are the things you gravitate towards because of, here's some suggestions. Would actually help them craft a brand, even because of their psychological profile and how they want to communicate, and keep asking and diving in every day. And then, part of it can be like building a blueprint and then matching you with people who did something like what you're doing, and say, you should listen to this particular podcast. Like, it'd have to be an AI that would kind of congregate all this stuff and be like, this guy just talked about this podcast, exactly what you're going through. Go listen to this now for some help. This guy suggested this book, and it kind of will just guide you. And that's where the advertising comes in, because it's like, if you did that, if it pointed you in the right direction, of course, that person would receive a benefit, and maybe like, not unlike Google where you just pay for ads. It's like, no, you're getting ads to the real thing
that you need.
Yeah,
of course. Yes.
To the real thing. Mm-hmm. I think the psychological profile is really important to kind of build from that, to really get if this person is built for this or not. And then the resources, obviously, but I wonder if because of psychological profiles, if that gets into HIPAA things and all that. But I feel like, I think it is needed. I think every entrepreneur feels lonely. They feel like they're fighting their own battle. I think that's why we network so much, because we want to be around people in the foxholes with us. Like, you can't respect people like, you can, Jeff Bezos and other people who have made it, but do you really get to hang with them, or do you want to even hang with them? Are they the type of person you want to be? I think a lot of times we look at people like we see this stuff, like, not to fake it till you make it, but the presentation of what they want us to see. Of course. But then we get little glimpses, and it's like, I've been around that guy. He's like a drag, or he's too much, or like he's just like, I can't talk to the guy, right? Like, so there's a part of a person that is really driven and alpha that makes them not cool people to be around, right? So where do you fit in? Is it going to work for you? And then nudging you towards what's better for your personality, I think would be ideal, because we all have to pivot, and this could actually help you pivot a little bit better, because it's like, well, the company says we should do this, but I really feel we should go in this direction. It's like, well, that might make financial sense, but it also might kill you inside. So what do you do? And you get to choose, but like, So I see that's value, but like it's like almost like not an armchair quarterback, armchair psychologist, but like somebody like co-pilot.
It's like having a success mentor in your pocket, right? Someone that's going to be very transparent. You know, 'cause a lot of times we give that biggest advice. You watch all these YouTube videos and they're like, success leaves clues, right? Get a mentor, get a mentor. Well, not everybody has access to the network with the mentor that they need, right? Or not even just locally, they might not have the resources, or, you know, they're starting out, they don't know where to go, they don't know what events. So it's in the pocket, in the palm of your hand, straight out of your pocket. You have a mentor that's going to give you transparent guidance that you're not worried about, you know, because sometimes there is the sad truth that you might get a mentor that's doing the same opposite or things that are going to give you those same, you know, feelings or the same results. Or maybe you have a mentors out there that are leading and they're selling their mentorship by selling too much of the lifestyle as opposed to the real things. You can pull out in the palm of your hand, somebody's going to be transparent and give you the resources that you need. And like you said, it peer networking or it suggest things to you. Also, a portion of the app can even be where you set your goals, right? So you set realistic goals. And if you hit those goals, right, you're tracking it daily. So maybe there's a section on there to build community, where you're building community with other entrepreneurs like yourself. You set a goal, hey guys, by this day, I'm going to achieve this task. And now you're getting accountability with people that are like-minded, going through the same situation as you. And if you hit certain goals, like 100 days straight by, you know, achieving my task, then you get invited to exclusive like event. Like everyone at this event has been 100 days in of hitting their goals. And you kind of want it promotes healthy, more of like a healthy approach to entrepreneurship, where instead of stressing yourself out about hitting these big goals, now you're looking forward to it. Because I want to show up to the event where it's 1,000 days straight of me hitting my goals. Exclusive membership.
I got the name. If you like, let's see if you like this. C, like the eyes,
C.
E-O. So it's 3 E's. CEO. But it's because you're a CEO, but it's also helping you see your way around things. That would be pretty dope. And I just also thought of C-3PO from Star Wars, and I was just like, oh, that could be like kind of the thing.
Okay, I have to sit on that one. We might be
I mean, you know,
it's
easy to remember.
It's easy to remember for sure. And then CEO.
Yeah, it's just 3 E's, and I'm sure it's not taking. Hey, don't
it
take
has
that.
to do with visionary. You know what I'm saying right here. So
you better go get this domain like today.
We're gonna lock it in. Don't worry about that. So
all right, I'm gonna hit you with mine. All right, so this came up, and it's something I'm actively experimenting with now, and I had some stuff, but I'm going to go with this because you're a branding guy, so I'm pretty sure you'll appreciate it more than anything. Okay. So long ago, we discussed this on another episode. I think it was episode 1. I talked about this idea of party animal, and it was basically like call it the not your avatar, but your wingman. And it was just a puppet that you would take to bachelor parties, and like instead of you taking pictures and getting in trouble with the pictures you take, everything was party animal doing it.
Throw it on him.
All the proof was on him, so he took all the blame, right?
Okay.
Hey, Big I wasn't motorboating that chick. It was the party animal, right? Like, so it was funny, and it came from that. So Roscoe, he actually is the evolution, not the evolution, but I just think like that, right? So this guy right here. So my idea was I wanted a DJ that was part of my brand, but that had a life of his own, that could also collaborate with other brands. So kind of like, in my head, I was just like, DJ Khaled, Kid Capri, these kind of DJs where, they used to open, they had their own thing, but then they open for, Def Comedy Jam, or they open for this guy, and then they do collabos and stuff like that. So a puppet that, had his own life and had his own gigs and be out there in the world, where he gets lent out to just say my friends or the entrepreneurs I work with, and he's a vehicle for them to show their collaboration. So if for example, you tell me, hey, you take Roscoe to this party in Miami. There's gonna be a bunch of people there. We'll just put him up and showcase him like he's actually DJing. Cool, here he is. Take him, like a library card almost. He goes, you shake shots with him, and next thing you know, like he's getting passed around between, influencers like, Roscoe was here, Roscoe was there. So he takes on a life of his own. All of this, obviously, full disclosure, he's part of my brand, but I don't know that brands, maybe they do. I guess that's what a sponsorship is, lend themselves out that way, the figurehead of the brand. It's more like, you almost feel like, if you want to say 50 cents, like they put these people up there to sponsor things and put their name on it to sell product. But this is almost the reverse. He's there to showcase other talents and people in the network, other entrepreneurs, and he's like the entrepreneurs DJ. Maybe he even does mixtapes. I always thought would be a good idea is like he does mixtapes, but like when you go to work out, instead of it being like, you're listening to 80s metal, you're listening to E.T., right? The hip hop preacher, to a music mix in your headphones. So you're getting like these positive entrepreneurial things through a mixtape. And it's like, you got an E.T. track, you got a, whoever else track, and there's like a compilation album, and he would put that out and you'd wear it to the gym or whatever, but it would like just showcase like good stuff for your brain, like real, knowledge, and you're absorbing it in a different way because he's a vehicle for that kind of stuff. So it's a weird idea. I'm working on it, and I'm always looking for people to collaborate on it. But like overall, because you're a branding guy, like, do you think that has legs? And if it does, where could you see something like that going that maybe I can't see? Because right now I'm in it. I'm too close to it. Like, where could that go?
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna lead with the cash for you right now.
Thank you,
I'm
sir.
gonna give you
Thank
the cash.
Sir.
And it's because it's a theory. The proof of concept has already been proven, right? Especially right now. I think right now is the best time. Maybe if we were talking 3-4 years ago, it might have been a little early for it, right? Because brands weren't as open or receptive to receiving an idea of like, who's this character, a puppet? I'm not gonna have it. But you got social media comedians now that their pages are blowing up and they're just puppets, right? Another thing that we're transitioning into, and you kind of, last year was a big thing you heard about, this kind of died down a little bit, is like the Web3, right? Where everybody's like,
well, the AI influencers, they got like a couple of them, right?
That's where I was leading into. So like with Web3 stuff coming out, there's a lot of AI influencers. I mean, you've got major record labels that have signed AI artists, right? You've got YouTubers that have millions of subscribers, and it's not a real person, it's augmented reality. And honestly, it gives you more leverage. It has more legs than what you think, because you being the face of a brand, right, a personal brand, it's always going to be limited, right? And so forth. But
some people just don't like you.
They don't like you personally.
That's why.
But it's diverse to have a puppet that doesn't really have its own. I mean, you are going to build a personality around its own opinions, but he can easily go with different demographics, right? He can easily go represent different products.
Who doesn't want a DJ? That's it. Like,
of course.
Who says no? The DJ can't come into this place.
And then entrepreneurship wise, right? He's not alive. At the end of the day, he's really not alive, right? So he's not going to get embarrassed. He's not out there. I mean, he's willing to take way more risk, and that's what entrepreneurship is, right? Taking risk to reap the reward. So you can take way more risk with the puppet. Even though, I mean, we've seen the AI get backlash as well, right? We got the AI artist that was signed to, I forget what record label. He ended up getting, they dropped him from the label like literally a few months later because of the backlash they got from it. But still, it's not damaging your personal brand. It's only going to add. It's another asset that you have. It's going to add to your personal brand because he's a cosign. He ties back to Trash and Cash. Now, as you might not blow up as a face or your personal brand right away, but if he blows up first, he's traveling the world, he's all over.
He pulls me with him.
He pulls you with him. He's co-signing your brand. And at the same time, the subliminal message on it, when they really look into his backstory, where does he come from? The Cash, it's going to funnel everybody back over to the Trash and Cash podcast. And then from a perspective of starting out like fresh, if you don't have, depending on the budget wise, to invest into a brand, yeah, it might be expensive for you to hop on a plane and, fly over to Greece, Italy, or somewhere else. How easy is it to
$15 UPS.
but it's living a lifestyle. We're talking about it, obviously. And when you start to treat it as a brand, yes, you want to give it a personality and really run with the whole story, the theme of it. But just from a business perspective, your overhead to blow up this brand is way cheaper than blowing up a personal brand. And you're able to leverage and partner up with all of these high-end influencers.
So if you sign right here, you could be his manager.
I mean, go ahead, right?
Nah, I appreciate that. Like I said, it's the evolution part. Like I told you where the idea started, and then like I'm literally living it. And I think that's how I am. I I call them zombie ideas. And somebody else said this before. It's not my original thought, but these ideas that keep coming back in different versions of the same thing. That's actually what this show is about. Like this show is made specifically to take these things that have been circling your mind for years and get them out, because, like having a baby or taking a massive dump, you got to get it out so you can move past it. And we just got so many things running off our mind. It might actually be a relief to some people. Like, I don't have to think about that anymore because I already got the confirmation or that it wasn't a good idea or that it was, and I need to put it in someone's hands and do something with it. So it's like, it gets you, like they say, shit or get off the pot, right? Like it takes you from that.
Right.
And literally like that's been baking in my mind for years. I knew it kind of worked. I proved it a little bit, and I had the resources that could completely go through with it. But it's nice to know that I'm onto something, and I'm hoping that I can continue to grow this, because as this show evolves, as these talks evolve, I don't know where this is going, but as I told you before, you never know what the one thing is going to be that comes out of this thing. And maybe is that. Maybe is what we just talked about with CEO, because that's what I'm calling it now. Right. All right. And I'm about to go get the domain.
I definitely see traction on it for sure. I mean, and if there's anything, it's timing is always good, right? You know, a lot of ideas, they're $1 million, multi-billion dollar ideas, but the timing is never right for them. And I think right now in the space that we are, especially with the content creators and all this AI going on and everything, it's the perfect opportunity to test market with it, especially from something that's already been proven.
Speaking of that, Spotify DJ, have you seen that yet?
I have not, no.
He's like, that is also confirming, because if you go on Spotify, there's a DJ and he almost has kind of the voice that I wanted Roscoe to have. But it's cool because he's like, he talks to you a little bit, like based on your sound thing, like here, I'm gonna throw some things in there like that.
Have you heard
used
of 11 Labs? I believe it's called.
Yeah, where you can get voices.
You can create your own voices on there too, so you could create a whole persona.
I've seen two different. I've tried. I have it actually a subscription. I didn't like what it did with my voice. I do know that I've seen some stuff they did with like Kanye's voice and Eminem's voice that were impressive. But it's playing around with it a lot, and I'm the type of person, I'll go too deep down a rabbit hole and then get mad because I wasted 3 hours and nothing came out of it. So I would just need somebody to like do that. But yeah, like that is an option. Some other things too, but I could see we are at the right time for something like this.
Augmented reality is huge, where you can.
But we don't. That's the thing. I kind of went low tech in what I was thinking, because that AI is deceptively like the rapper who got canceled. Sometimes it's just not authentic enough. I mean, it's cute for a minute, but at the end of the day, it's like it has no soul. So there's this balance you got to do with AI and the technology and give it a soul, and that's kind of like why I look for those things. So cool. I'm not gonna beat that dead horse or live horse too much, but thank you for confirming that. And like I said, maybe that's something we
and just touching on it. I mean, you said if brands lend themselves to it, I mean that's the same thing as micro influencer campaigns right now.
That's what I'm thinking.
You know, they lend themselves.
He's like you said, co-signing. He's basically he's like an official co-signer. If you see him, you must be cool. If you have him in your hands, if he's at your thing, you know somebody, or you're like, it's almost like not a velvet rope, but like there's a trust issue. Like he don't go to just anybody. You can't just pay me $1 million to get him. There's you got to be in this lane. You got to know this person. You got to like be about this positivity. I can't have you out here dropping F-bombs with him in the middle of it, because I want kids to be able to access this at some point. Like there's some lanes you got to stay within to even have access to them. So making it a little bit like less accessible, but like interesting or cool to have. And you know, you just got to find the right people for that, like who have a good sense of humor, who can play along and then see what happens. So thank you. Sure. So you know, this wasn't too bad, right? Like it was pretty fun. I mean, this wasn't like,
for sure.
It wasn't like hammering, like trying to sell nothing. It was just like, let's just get into these ideas. So before we wrap this up, I wanted to ask you if you had like any resources you wanted to share, like it could be a podcast, a book, you know, anything that to entrepreneurs and you know that are in. It could be the tech space or branding space that like you're like, I like this. This is my favorite book. This is my favorite pocket. Whatever comes to mind.
I'm big on books. You know, so there's a bunch of different books. Right now, two of the books that I can say that I go back and I've gone back and read a couple times that have personally helped me. For the male entrepreneurs, you know, for us fellas out there, good resource. The Way of the Superior Man. And Think and Grow Rich is obviously an OG that is always good to go back. You can always get something new from it every time you read it. But Way of the Superior Man is a really good one.
What about that? Like, what's not the cliff notes, but like the summary of what did it teach you?
There's a bunch of different lessons on there, right? But it's just the perspective of really taking control of your life and moving in the essence of like who you are and moving as a superior man, right? Not worrying about others' opinions and really living in the truth of the now of who you are and just standing on your word. It's a lot of things and traits that you need to become a good entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur, and just overall a successful father, man, just moving in that way. I feel like I got a lot of lessons from that book. So I don't want to give you the cliff notes or like re-quote the book in the wrong way, but there was a lot that I pulled from there that I feel like can help every man entrepreneur looking to take their life to the next level without falling into the traps of like social media or anything like that. So if you're starting your brand fresh and you want to start it from an honest, transparent perspective, then that's a good book to start with.
Nice. I'm going to drop one that is an oldie, and you may have heard this, but anyway. Have you ever heard of Ogmandino?
Ogmandino.
Okay. So he wrote this book called The Greatest Salesman in the World. You should pick it up. It's not very long. There's 10 scrolls in it. And what it is it's basically, really, it's a Bible story. But he sneaks it in real nice.
Okay.
I love the way he does it. Actually, it could be a pretty good movie. It's up there with The Alchemist for me, right?
Wow.
So Ogmandino, the greatest salesman in the world. And it's, it teaches you about affirmations and stuff. But the mindset of a salesman on how they get great is really good because it's very contrary to what we do these days. We're very consumer, and this is very like the opposite. Like you got to read it, and it's not that long of a book. It is if you do the scrolls like you're supposed to. It'll take you 10 months because it's 10 scrolls. But the point is, you could run through it in a day. And then if you do the affirmations of scroll, so check that one out. That Ogmandino, I really like that one. Like
The Greatest Salesman?
The Greatest Salesman in the World.
Got
It's
it.
like a $10 book on Amazon, right? So that one I wanted to share because that's an oldie but goodie. Yeah, man. So I appreciate you coming through.
Sure, I appreciate you having me.
No problem. Maybe I'll come to your spot next time. But I want to shout out the people who created this space for us. This is called the Real Freedom Collab. I know you didn't get to walk through it or anything like that, but you see the offices, the podcast studio. There's offices over there, and this is kind of where like we do community meetups, real estate, crypto, technology. This is a small but solid group of individuals. Unlike maybe a WeWork where you would just come and just rent a space and like you never see the people. Right. It's like a mailbox. Here, like we get together, we actually end up at each other's parties, kids' parties and stuff like that. We like really try to build a strong community here of entrepreneurs because we all need people. So I wanted to give them a shout out thank you for providing this space. And if anybody ever wanted to come meet us in Tampa, come to one of the meetings on a Monday, Thursday, or Friday, or whatever meetings we're doing. If you want to look up Real Freedom Club, you can look into that, or just show up one day, or reach out to me in the DMs, the Dad Next Door or Trashmitter, but the Dad Next Door on all the socials, Jason Centeno, and it ain't all about me. So hit them with your socials, how they can get with you, like your branding and all that other good stuff.
So you can find us most active on Instagram, Visionary Vega on Instagram. You can search us across all the platforms for our business, 11 Branding, 11branding.com. Or if you even want to just shoot us a text, you can send me a text at 727-810-5454. Again, 727-810-5454. But the best way to catch me is on that Instagram again.
You off to anywhere interesting now?
Yeah, we're actually getting ready to head out to Vegas. So.
Nice. Well, cool. I ain't get my invite, but that's all right.
I got to bring my guy. I need the DJ with me.
Hey,
you see what I'm saying? There's space in the luggage. I think we can make them up there. We'll get them up there.
Seriously, I'm gonna lend you one day to see what you do with them. It's not that hard.
We'll put them on the carry-on, and then we'll throw them up first class or something afterwards.
He got to start hustling for some sponsorship money for this place.
Got The Vega sign off.
Like you got
yes.
Okay.
Hey, listen, just go ahead, get started, move forward. If you've been thinking on a brand, you've been sitting on it, blind faith translates into reality. So if you blindly believe in what you have going and you just get started and really stay true to what that foundation, that story is, it's going to work.
CEO.
CEO.
We got to make that real. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Peace, and may the cash be with you.
Well, that concludes this episode of Trash or Cash. Make sure you follow on all socials at Trashmitter. That's TRASHMITTER. And keep up with all episodes at trashorcashpodcast.com.